Tier lists. Very divisive in any game, but especially so in Genshin Impact, because they're supposed to tell you who's good and who's not. But Genshin is a game about the interactions between your 4 team members and the elemental reactions they can produce. So just slapping a bunch of the S tier characters all in one team isn't going to guarantee you the best results. But the community has been asking me to make a tier list, and even though I didn't really want to, I said, you know what? I'll do it, as long as I can give my hot takes. Now, I was going through these pretty quickly and getting all the broad strokes for the characters, but if I did miss some really important things, please let me know in the comments below. Also, this video is sponsored by Paimon's Bargains, who's giving away a couple free Welkins on our Discord server. So if you want a chance to be a winner of one of the free Welkins, all you have to do is like the video, sub to the channel, and join the Discord and check the giveaway section for when that's announced. But more on our sponsor and the Welkin giveaway later, because now it's tier list time. Alright, tier list. I'm going to not necessarily put these in any order of like, if one goes here, this is going to be the best. Just like, if it's S, they're very good. If they're like first row D tier or last row D tier, like they're good or bad. Let's see, Traveler. Traveler is like very mid. Most of the elements are pretty bad. Dendro's okay. I think I'll put you in B. You're just very, very mid. Albedo. Good in Geo, easy to build. You're probably B2. Amber, you're D. Ayaka, you're A or S for me. Ayaka's probably A or S. She's easy to build. She's incredibly strong. Her scalings are really good. She's a little bit limited to sort of freeze teams, whereas like someone like Ganyu isn't. But she has a little more options in freeze teams than Ganyu does. Barbara you use until you get better healers. So she's there for fun. Beto would be A. She has energy problems, but for a 4-star, she's really good. Her constellations are nice. Bennett is easy S. Chongyun, I think, is B. His infusion is really good for when you need the cryo. His burst hits pretty hard. Low energy cost. Pretty decent character. Diluc, Diluc would be like a B or C. Because Diluc is a character that I yesterday called him like training wheels. Basically, he's like a character that you use at the beginning of the game if you get him, and he's good pyro damage. He kind of gives you an idea of how to play the game, hopefully, and hopefully how to use reactions and how to build like a hyper carry team and whatnot. But once you build better characters, Diluc just kind of falls off. I'm going to put him at B tier. I think he's a B tier character. Diona, Diona doesn't deal like any damage, but her support capability is really nice. Good energy generation, good healing, even though it's a lot slower than Bennett. She gives you a shield. Just like a really nice, comfy pick. Fischl for a 4-star, easy S tier. So much energy, off-field damage, like very, very good, especially with Dendro now. Like, yeah. Fischl enables characters like Beto to really shine too, so Fischl's an S tier character. Ganyu, S tier character. I put her above Ayaka because you can actually use Ganyu as a sub DPS if you want to use her as an off-field in either freeze or in reverse belts where you're not using her shots. Or you can use her as like a carry for charge shot build. You can use her with Dendro like Nahida for burning if you want to do that too. So there's some interesting applications that Ganyu has. The Coca Goat, still strong. Hu Tao A for damage. Hyper carry syndrome is, I think, the main thing that's holding her back. You really want to run a shield with her. You want to run her with Xingqiu. She doesn't need Bennett. Her damage is nuts, but you have to play her fairly well or carefully, or you'll probably die. Jean. Jean. I like Jean a lot. I want to put Jean in A tier, but I don't know if she is better than that. She's definitely better than Traveler, Albedo. Probably more useful than Chongyun in certain cases. I'm going to put Jean at A. Because unlike Diluc, where if you get her, she is again sort of like a training wheel character. You get her and you can make her your main DPS if you get her early on. Having the auto attacks that heal your team is really nice, and the skill that hits pretty hard and can suck up the enemies and yeet them away. Also, her burst is very nice, but she does fall off a bit in terms of like damage, not the greatest. In terms of support though, later on, pretty good. Kaya, I think Kaya's A tier as well. Not quite as strong as the S tier, but for a 4-star, he's really good. Kaching. This is interesting. Kaching. Because I think Kaching, I would have put Kaching in like a B or C tier before, but with Dendro, I feel like she is much better than that now. Because her multipliers are okay. Dendro, Kaching feels really good. Other Kaching doesn't feel very good, though. You basically have to run her with Dendro. You know, I'm going to put her in B tier too. Even though I like her a lot better than, like, Diluc. I think having essentially one element you have to run her with. You could run Hyper Bloom Kaching, but you have to run, like, Dendro if you want Kaching to work well. If you're trying to use other variations of Kaching, like physical Kaching feels really bad. I ran that before. She hits strong, but I just don't like physical characters at all. Let's see. Klee. Poor Klee. Klee is like our first entry into C tier. My first 5-star, and I love her, but she's so clunky. Her damage isn't very good. She can hit pretty hard, but even with my Klee has 95 crit rate, like 150 crit damage, all the extra pyro damage, and she's got a Lost Prayer, and she still only hits for like 27k on a charge attack. And I'm like, this doesn't feel good. Of course, if you do reactions and stuff with her, she's going to hit harder, but it doesn't feel that great, especially when you have to be right up on top with a tiny, squishy little elf girl. Lisa, I like Lisa, but you know what? Lisa's going in D tier because she would have been much higher, but they nerfed her energy generation, which I don't think was supposed to be the way it was, to be fair. You used to be able to do like Lisa's tap E and generate one elemental particle, like one electro particle every tap, which was really good. But now she has major issues with energy. It feels awful to hold her skill for like 25 seconds. So yeah, Lisa, love your design. Wish your skill and energy generation was better. This Traveler, same thing. Mona, where is Mona? Mona for me, I think would be B. She's got a very good, like, neat little mechanic with her burst that extends damage. She's extremely good in freeze. She's good for like one-shot comps and stuff too. But overall, like, there's generally better options. If you're running Mona, it's because you are either running a freeze team and you want to extend the Omen debuff to do more damage, or you're doing like a one-shot video. So I think for that regard, you can also make her like a Thrilling Tales holder. You can make her a pseudo healer with Prototype Amber, which is what I do. So better than Barbara if you want to run a very, very pseudo healer that actually does a little more damage. Ningguang is C. She does good damage on her own, but Geo on-field damage doesn't feel very good. Geo does not play very well with any elements, and in a game where you want to use elemental reactions and Geo reactions are the worst one, sorry, you go down there, Ningguang. Noelle. Noelle, probably the same thing. C6 Noelle, very strong. Otherwise, normal Noelle, not very good. Has the potential to be very good. If she could generate her own energy, she'd easily be B or potentially A, but because she can't do that, she stays in C tier. Chi-Chi would have been D tier, but with Clamset, she can be C tier. You can make Chi-Chi a driver and basically make your team immortal in like an Electrocharge team or something like that. But you need the Clamset on her, otherwise she's basically useless. Her skill is way too long. She doesn't generate any energy, and she's a 5-star, which is just why? That just boggles the mind. And her burst costs 80 energy, so yeah. Too many problems with Chi-Chi. Razor B tier. Physical damage is not great, but Razor's a very good user of physical damage, and some of Razor's better teams are like C6 Bennett with Razor and doing a bunch of weird Dendro things. Sucrose is S tier. Extremely good. Undervalued by most people, but grouping, big swirl, AoE swirl, like elemental infusion off field, can be a good holder for Thrilling Tales. Like, you don't need to level her talents. So, an extremely good budget Anemo character that is as strong as some of the 5-star Anemo supports. Tartaglia is A tier. Can be a little difficult to use, and the teams you want to run him with are very expensive, but really, really, really good overall. Applies tons of Hydro, Riptide procs, and all the other things like his normal attacks, his Riptides, and his charge attacks can all apply Hydro, so a very good Hydro enabler that does good damage on his own too. Venti's S tier. Very similar to Sucrose, except his CC is much, much stronger, and the damage scaling on his abilities are much stronger too. Also, he has a 6-second cooldown on the tap skill, so basically just another Anemo support, but better damage, better CC. Xiangling. This I am curious. You know what? I think I'll put Xiangling in A tier, because even though her damage is very good, she has no ICD on her elemental burst, so she can like get every single reaction. The biggest problems with her are her energy generation. If she had decent energy generation, and if Gobo was not so dumb, she would be an easy S tier for me. But I think because of those things holding her back, I think she's going to be A tier. And because of those things, you kind of need to run her with Bennett. They're very much like peanut butter and jelly. You want to run them both together. If you run just like Xiangling, you can get by, but it doesn't really feel that good because you want her to snapshot Bennett's buff. Xiao. Xiao is B tier. He's better than these as far as DPS on his own, but doing the plunge attacks, getting hit out of the air while you're plunging feels awful. Same thing with like Wander. It feels really, really, really bad. You have to run a very specific team for them. He's not free-to-play friendly in the least, but his damage is very solid. Xingqiu, easy S tier. One of the most broken characters in the game, and I honestly don't know how the Hydro Archon is going to be better than Xingqiu. Like, they could make the Hydro Archon basically Xingqiu with like a shorter skill cooldown and maybe slightly lower multipliers, and like they would be one of the most broken characters in the game. So he's so good, and the thing about him is solving the main problem he has, which is his energy generation for his burst, also makes him stronger by doing more damage from his burst because you use the emblem set on him. And you can get around his energy problems with like a Sacrificial Sword, Favonius. You can run Sapwood on him if you want like a free-to-play option that gives him some energy recharge, especially in a Dendro team. Then he's also got the damage reduction, the passive healing, the interruption resistance from the Rain Swords. Every one of his constellations is good, and they basically just like get extremely good. Doesn't have a bad constellation. Like, he's very broken. Xinyan, she's broken, but in a bad way, because her skills don't actually work. I don't think they still fix the 2 versus 3 enemy shield thing. She's physical, but pyro, but also damage is bad, and you don't really want to use her on a pyro team or on a physical team. She just doesn't really have a place anywhere, which is very unfortunate, because she has a cool design, and she should be treated much better than she is. Zhongli, Zhongli I'll say is A tier, just for the shield. Damage on his big meteor is fun, but it's got a very long animation. You don't really use him that much for damage. You can use him as like a physical carry too, and he does a lot of damage that way. But it's the shield. It's all about the shield. And for that reason, he's an easy A. I wouldn't say he's like an SS tier character, but easy A. Rosaria, she's an A tier character as well. She is sort of like the cryo version of Xiangling, but she's got a little bit more issues. So she's sort of like in between Xiangling and Kaya. Her burst doesn't have any internal cooldown, so it can react every single time, but it stays in one area and an enemy can just move out of it, so it doesn't follow you, which is kind of unfortunate. However, unlike Xiangling, she has Kaya's similar type skill where it's a 6-second cooldown and generates a lot of energy particles, so that's very nice. And the scalings for Rosaria are pretty good too, so really good 4-star. I wish they made more like her instead of some of the other ones. Eula Lawrence, where am I going to put you? Oh, Eula's going to be mid. She's either going to be B or C, and I don't know which one to put her. You know what? I think I'm going to put her B. So Eula has two problems. It's that she does too much damage, and also that she does too little damage. And that might sound really weird, but let's explain. So Eula, all of her major damage from her burst is backloaded. So you have to use her burst, then use her skill, then you normal attack a few times, then you'd use her hold skill. Basically, you're building up stacks, so at the end, you do a big explosion of physical damage that blows up and kills all the enemies. Well, Eula hits so hard in the overworld, you're never going to use her elemental burst because the enemies are going to die before it goes off. But if you're in the abyss, and your burst does not crit, or the enemy goes invulnerable, you basically have to restart, because that is where like all of her damage comes from. So Eula's in a very weird spot. She's like physical, she does a lot of damage, but there are times where like if you don't crit, or if the enemy like dodges your attack for some reason, you have to stop and just reset, and it feels really bad. I would not recommend anyone roll for Eula for that reason, because I would be so frustrated using her. But in terms of actual damage in overworld, like really, really nice. Same for Razor, just like physical damage in overworld generally feels pretty good. Yanfei. Yanfei, C tier for me. I think Yanfei and Noelle are very similar. Klee can do more damage than Yanfei, but Yanfei can stay at a distance, which I think is really valuable for a Catalyst character, because unless your animations are more smooth and fluid, like Skara, or Hazo, or even like Nahida to some extent, it doesn't feel very good to use most Catalyst characters. They're animation locked way too long. Constellations can make Yanfei pretty good, especially her C6, makes her feel a lot better, but overall not great. Kazuha, easy S tier. Kazuha Venti Sucrose, S tier Animo supports, damage boost, VV shred, good scaling on his own. Extremely good character. Most everyone probably knows that Kazuha is already like an S tier character. Yoimiya's B. She mid. She's similar to Zhao. You need to run like specific teams with her. You really want to run a shield with her. The big damage from her is the last hit from her normal attack string. If you have to dodge, or if you have to like get hit out of it before that goes off, you're kind of griefing yourself. So you really want to run her with a shield. You can do some interesting team comps with her too. She's one of the few characters that I like utilizes Yunjin well. But hyper carry syndrome all the way. Have to build an entire team around her. Not very flexible. But still a super cool character. And I wish you could use her off field because I really like her character design. Sayu. Sayu. I wouldn't say you're A, because I don't think you're as good as Jean or Diona, but you do have the potential to hold VV. You can use your own like swirls to heal. You got your like off-field little Daruma healer that also applies some animo to help shred. The main problem with Sayu is that her damage is really low and her energy generation is not very good. And whenever you're running Animo, it's almost always solo Animo, unless you're doing Zhao or Wanderer, with like Faruzan, for example. So if her energy generation was a little bit better, and if she could have a little bit more damage eked out, and maybe EM was more based on her kit instead of attack, where you're just typically running attack for the heals, unless you're trying to run like a VV version with all EM, which doesn't really come alive until like her C6 anyways. She's just kind of like a less good Gene. What is this? Wait, is this Kazuha again? Alright, so I guess other Kazuha can go up here too. Raiden's S tier as well. Off-field damage, extremely good in Hyper Bloom, extremely good as a carry. Yeah. Super, super good Archon. One of the best Electro characters in the game, if not hands down the best. Kujo Sara. You are down here in D tier, my friend. C6 Kujo Sara, pretty good, but if you have to be a C6 4-star character to be any good, no. No, 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 no. And then, like, your C2 makes you feel like you're usable, but no. Like, I just would never use Sara. I would always use someone who deals actual damage instead of someone who deals, like, a random modicum of damage to try and enhance someone's attack. But it's only for a few seconds, and by the time you actually get everything off anyways, it's not like they snapshot your stuff, so, I don't like that. Don't like it at all. Kokomi. Kokomi is between A and B for me. I think in terms of just the comfort factor, we'll put Kokomi at A. Just because it does feel really nice. Just to have someone who can basically make you immortal. But there's so many problems with Kokomi. If she could replace her jellyfish, like move it and reposition it, like Fischl can her bird, it'd be so much better. She's kind of just like a luxury healer, but she feels really good in a lot of teams. And if Hoyo is going to force people into playing very specific team styles with Dendro, with like Nilou and stuff, Kokomi's just going to rise in value as well. So if you're going to be forced to play Alhaitham a certain way, if you're going to be forced to place Dea, or play Dea in like a certain way, and you want to use a Hydro character in those teams, Kokomi's just going to increase in value. So I think A is a decent spot for her. Aloy, easy D. Terrible character. Chongyun is way better. And that's why he's in B tier and she's in D tier. Toma. Toma. You're like B or C. Where are you going to be, Toma? Where are you going to be? Honestly, I think I have to put you in C. Burgeon Toma's good, but not really that good. The shield's nice, but he's got a lot of his own problems. Mostly energy generation, and mostly the fact that like you can build him for damage, but your shield sucks, or you can build him to be a shielder, but then your damage is awful. So it's really hard to build him for both. If you could build him for both, he'd feel a lot better. Then he'd be B tier, maybe A tier. Now, for A tier, his cooldown on his elemental skill would either need to be a lot shorter, or he would need to generate more energy, and his skill would need to be like just a better skill in general. So yeah, I think C is fine. Ito, I think Ito is B. Very similar to Zhao. Like Zhao, Eula, Yoimiya, Ito, I think they're all very similar. Very good damage, but typical hyper carry syndrome. Have to build an entire team around him. Ito, you want Goro specifically, and to build like a Geo team. That seems kind of hard, but honestly it's usually not, because if you're rolling for Ito, Goro's almost always on the banner and you typically always get him. And then you could always run Geo Traveler, and then you've got 3 Geo right there, and you can make use of Goro's skill and burst like maximally. Then you can run like either a 4th Geo or just like an off-field damage dealer just for extra energy. Speaking of Mr. Ito, we've got Goro. Unfortunately, way too specific. Have to work with either defense scaling characters and Geo characters. So basically you're Noelle and Ito. Too specific. You do what you do well, but when you're designed to work with 2 characters out of all of these, I can't rank you higher than that. Shenhe. Shenhe is C tier because she's basically like Goro and Kujo Sara, except you build her with attack and she can hit really hard on her own. So I've seen people who get Shenhe and they use her just as their carry. And I'm like, yeah, that would probably work because she would hit really hard. So same thing for cryo characters, but at least she can be decent on her own. And everyone gets Kaya for free, so you could Shenhe Kaya. There was like these other characters, like you're forcing yourself to use these characters in a team if you're not running them high constellation with like a hyper carry. Shenhe on her own could be a carry if you really wanted to make her that way. Yunjin next. Yunjin. I think Yunjin is C tier because she is similar to like Goro, Sara. She has one specific niche that she fills, but there's a lot more normal attack characters in the game than there are specific elements with other specific characters in that element. So instead of being a mono element team, she does well in like a rainbow team with normal attack characters. That's why she works well with Ayato, and that's why she works well with Yoimiya. If there's like more normal attack characters, she might end up being better too. But C tier for you. Yeah, Yai's B tier. Good damage. Doing the like random... I really hate how you have to reposition your turrets every single time that you use Yai's burst. I was like, can we just do it once? And then not have them disappear? That would be great. And like the 90 cost energy burst at the same time, the very long 22-second cooldown on it. Those are basically the major problems she has, but being like all-field damage dealer, especially in a Dendro aggro spread team, or like a quick bloom team or something like that, very, very nice. Ayato is B as well. He's similar to just your typical Yoimiya, Ito, that sort of thing. Good damage, but his is not as necessarily as high as theirs, so you definitely do want to do reactions with him. But it feels very good to just hold left click and go swing, 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 swing. Electrocharge is really good for him. Obviously, Vaporize is good too. You can run him in freeze, but I think it's better to run either one of the other two. Yelan. Yelan. Where am I putting you? You're high for sure. You know what? I think Yelan is going in S tier. Because she's extremely easy to build. She's very powerful. She's similar to Xingqiu. In terms of like overall power, basically if Xingqiu wasn't around, she would be an easy S tier. But the only reason for my hesitation is because he is here. And so then I was thinking, you know what? The fact that Xingqiu exists does not make Yelan worse. It just makes it so you don't need her as much if you have Xingqiu. And if you have both, it's still really, really good. So yeah, I think she is S tier for sure. Super good off-field damage. Using her with Emblem and then like a Fav bow, I like that. That's my favorite way. Team energy generation, like increased damage for a hyper carry if using her with like a hyper carry team. Also just like super stylish. Kuki Shinobu. This is a bit difficult because Kuki on her own is not that great, but she's incredibly good with Dendro. So if we have a character that is kind of needed for a lot of different team compositions, do we place her really high or is she more mid? I think what we're going to do here is place her mid tier because Kuki's a character that will be... She's really useful now, but as time goes on, she's going to probably lose in value as we get more like Dendro healers specifically, or an additional Electro healer, or like a good Electro shielder or something like that. Kuki's going to sort of lose her place and value. The biggest thing for her is that she has her ring, which is an off-field Electro applicator that can hit the Dendro cores for Hyper Bloom. And then she has that with the healing. So it's just like the role consolidation is really, really good right now. but the fact that you have to like sacrifice your own HP, I've never liked that, which might be a bit of bias as to why she's a little bit lower, and I think a lot of people could argue that she would be A tier, and I think that would be fine too. But I think in the future she's going to lose a little bit of value as we get more Dendro healers, or any Dendro healers, I should say. Let's see, Hazo. I think Hazo's B as well. He does decent damage on his own. Animo is really nice just for anything. But if you're running like a VV Hazo, then you might as well just run Sucrose because she's better than him. And of course the Desert Pavilion set for Hazo is pretty good, but I think if you're going to use a Hazo carry, you really want to run VV. It just feels better. He knocks enemies away with his skill, which is his sort of bread and butter. Don't really like that. Feels much better to play than every other Catalyst, though. Tanari. Tanari is B as well. I think Tanari and Keqing are very similar in their like power scaling. And if you were a new player and you got Keqing or Tanari as your carry, I think you're in a really good spot. I think they would, either one of them would be much better than Diluc. So, decent character, good damage, feels pretty fluid to play. Especially for a charge attack bow character, feels way better than Amber. And because you do the charge attacks rapidly, I think he feels better than Ganyu in that regard too. Kale, you're C tier. Your Dendro application's okay, damage is pretty bleh. You apply it really fast, but not a lot of Dendro. Kind of nice for like the EM buff and stuff that you give, like the little bit, but you know, not amazing. Dory, you're probably D tier. You're C or D tier, but for my money, I think you're D tier. I don't know if I'd ever use Dory. Especially if Kuki exists, I don't know why you'd ever use Dory. And like, even if you really need an Electro healer on a team, I would probably rather just run an offensive character. Like, if I was running a spread team or an aggravate team and I needed a Dendro healer, I'd be like, you know what, instead of a Dendro healer, I'm just going to put Beto in, because Beto gives me a shield, she reduces the damage I take, and like, that should be enough. And I actually get good damage, unlike stuff from Dory where she has bad electro application. Her lamp thing's kind of weird. It's a neat little mechanic, but I don't really like it at all. I think they missed pretty hard with Dory, which is unfortunate because it could have been really good, but nah. Nilu C, easy C. Damage for Nilu Bloom, very good, but you have to play Nilu Bloom. You can't play her anywhere else. If you do, you're griefing yourself. You shouldn't play Nilu in anything besides Bloom. And you're like, oh, I can do this much in Vaporize. I'm like, sure, you could do that with other characters too. Why would you roll on Nilu if you're not going to play her on Bloom? Just doesn't make sense. It's like, yeah, you can do this much with Vaporize. It's like, yeah, DPS Barber can do the same thing. So why take all your hard-earned wishes to go for a specific character that's locked into one spot? And I guess that's a pretty hot take, because I know how many people really like Nilu, because she is a very nicely designed character, and she's a belly dancer, and she's got her like flower god reincarnation thing, but like, nah. Hoyo messed up her kit. She should not be locked into one playstyle. One and only one. Feels bad. Sino B. Sino is basically Keqing that lasts longer on field. His damage is kind of yeah, not great. Candice. Boo. Candice is like C or D, and I don't know what to put her in. I'm going to put her in D, because her damage is really bad. The Hydro Infusion is always really nice, but yeah, she just doesn't feel like she's going to be very strong at all. I use Candice just for like a meme team, and just because I love her design. And I probably still will. And I think C tier would be too biased on my part just because I like her too much. So I'm like, nah, let's scale you down to B tier. Nahida's S. Easy S. Best Dendro character we have, and probably will be the best Dendro character we have for a very long time. Layla. Layla. Let's see. Layla's fairly mid, but how mid is she? Having a shield is really nice. Having extra cryo application is nice. I think Layla's in sort of this B tier as well. You can try to build Layla for damage, but it's not going to be that good. You can build her as a shielder and it will be good, and you can basically have it up all the time and have her burst up all the time. So she's really nice in a freeze team. I like running her with Fab. She can be decent for energy generation. So, unironically, I think they forgot a digit, like a 0, in her scalings for her damage. And if they made them a little bit better, she'd be a lot higher. But her damage is so weak. Everything else about her is pretty good, though. Skara's B. Very typical hyper carry. I was honestly very disappointed. Even my C1 Skara, I feel like, should do a lot better than he is. But he's just like Ito. He does less damage than Zhao, but he can float around a little bit. He's probably on par with Yoimiya in terms of damage. Still has lots of problems. Wouldn't recommend most people going for Skara unless they just really liked him. Farazan, D. Too many problems. C6 Farazan, good. All of her power budget went into her C6. Everything else is terrible with her. Terrible energy generation. Playstyle people don't like to play. Supposed to be a battery, but can't even battery herself? Like, ugh. Awful. Yao Yao and Alhaitham. I don't know. I have no idea where they're going to be. They're going to be in question mark tier. Though Alhaitham's probably going to be like a B tier Dendro DPS. He's probably going to be like Kaching, as people are saying. Everyone just making fun of him for being a Dendro Kaching. So he's probably not going to be amazing. We'll see how he's going to like turn out. And then Yao Yao, she's probably going to fall somewhere in here, like between B and C as well. We'll put her in B tentatively. Don't know what she's going to do, if her scalings are going to be any good, but being Dendro is generally good. So she's either going to be in the Kale tier, where she has very little Dendro application, and you're just using her because you want Dendro, or she's going to be in the B tier because she has good Dendro application, and then whatever else she does is going to be pretty good as well. And there is a chance she could be in A tier. I doubt she's going to be in S tier because Hoyo has not made S tier characters in like a long time outside of Nahida. Like, I don't know the last time. Yeah, there's no S tier 4-star character here. They're all the original like 4-star characters. But if she becomes an S tier character, I will eat my words. I will eat my own fin. So this is the current tier list. All my hot takes. Might adjust these up or down, but honestly, like, yeah. I was evaluating their versatility with the teams that they can play with. Like, if you need to build around them, if you can use them and just slot them in wherever.